Okay, welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya, and I have back my very special dear mentor, Dr. Santhip Kanholy. Thank you very much for joining me again.
Namaste, Namaste, Katya.
Thank you. So, a couple episodes ago, we did a video on Rahu and Taurus and Ketu and Scorpio, and some predictions about where we felt the energy was going to go for the next 18 and a half months. So in this video, we're going to take it a step further and talk about it through the 12 signs. So just a disclaimer really fast, this is not for your Western astrology sign. This is for your sidereal sign. So usually it falls back a sign. So if your sun is in Cancer in Western, most of the time it's going to fall back into Gemini. There is an overlap, but you can use the chart calculator. I'll put the link down in the information section. That way you can look it up. And basically the energy of this next period is renew, recover, restore, revive. It's, it's the time after, this horrible tragic year that we've had, where we get to clean up and rejuvenate. So it's all about that energy. And the planets are Venus for Taurus and Mars for Scorpio. So those planets will be particularly important. And of course, the solar eclipses and the lunar eclipses that are happening during this time. So let's start off with if you are, of course, now you're going to read this from your ascendant or your moon, or the third option is you can also read it from your sun. I would start with your ascendant and then read it from your moon and then your sun. So if you are Taurus, that means that Rahu is in your first house and Ketu is in your seventh house. So Santhip, what's this going to be like for Taurus?
Yeah, for Taurus ascendant natives, it's going to be a very powerfully challenging and transforming time period up ahead. Usually eclipses will be happening on your ascendant. Definitely next year around May, June, you are having an eclipse going to happen. And usually if you have a planet in Taurus, there's a good chance, especially your ascendant in Taurus, it's going to be extremely challenging. In fact, Taurus ascendant natives might go through, if they have been staying for the same job for the past 18 years, for the past 10 years, now they're considering a job change. That kind of thing is very important. You will see that they are very keen on bringing on some new energy. Usually I've seen that if they have been, let's say, if they have been doing a regular job, they are much more keen on doing a side business, potentially, as a way I would interpret that. They might also go through very important focus on themselves and their health. That's a very important thing I've seen for sure. Of course, there is also this thing.
Well. Aesthetics, like because the first house is the face. It's the face and the head, and it's Venus, and Taurus loves spa treatments and self-care stuff. So when Rahu's in your first house, it's definitely time to take care of you.
Yeah, definitely. So you can say that it will be a complete makeover. By the time Rahu has left Taurus. So for sure, Taurus and natives usually there'll be a deep questioning of their own values. What have they been valuing in their life? Have they been hanging on to the material values and forgotten the family side or the spiritual side of things? Now, definitely they'll be having some challenges on the relationship front for sure with Ketu transiting the seventh house. So they need to be at least be patient with them. And now, one important thing for Taurus and native, if you are not in a relationship right now, if you meet someone during when Ketu is transiting your seventh house, good chance that that person was someone from your past lifetimes. Exactly. And then you are having a reconnection. Yeah. So you're having a reconnection, extreme or reconnection when you meet with someone, but doesn't mean that, he's going to be there or she's going to be there in this lifetime again. So it's one of those things, there might be a brief karmic kind of release happening on the relationship kind of thing. Usually it can be challenging also on account of, you could say, dealing with insurance kind of themes. There might be some inheritance kind of documents. Those kind of themes could also be strong for Taurus ascendant natives. you could even think Taurus ascendant natives would also go through a very different way about how they're viewing money. That's also a very important thing. How, like I said, perhaps they are much more open about different ways of making money. Perhaps they are much more open about thinking differently about the way money is being used or spent. Now, this could be either way, either say you have been a big spender, you might want to conserve it, or say you have been consuming it too much, you might just want to like spend it all. It's one of those things. Usually, a good thing I can say is that they're going to find themselves surrounded by material comfort, luxury. So this could also mean they're making some big decisions with regard to purchasing their own home, real estate, all that thing is also possible. Definitely, that is also an actual thing. Usually with Taurus, and I would even say that they also need to be questioning deeply about themselves, where they are going with their lives also. That kind of questioning can become very strong. Usually there's a big change energy coming away. So you'll definitely be a different person 1.5 years from now, no doubt about that. So that transformation energy can be good, can be challenging, can be bad also. But at the end of the day, it's a transformation energy. So in my opinion, it's a very good time period when you can try to do some spiritual work yourself. These are what is actually happening right now for the next 1.5 years is that you're kind of facing karmas that are compressed. My karmas of multiple lifetimes compressed over a 1.5 year time period. So it's one of those things that might require deep spiritual help, for instance. So doing spiritual practice is very powerful. I cannot emphasize this enough of like going to like temples or spiritual places. I cannot emphasize that enough. The role of a community could actually be very helpful for Taurus and natives. Having a supportive community, the community with whom you can interact with, can be a very fruitful thing during this time period also.
Right. Especially, pay attention to the dasha cycle that you're in. If you're in Rahu or Ketu and you are a Taurus Lagna, then it's going to be even more powerful. And also whatever planets are in those houses too are going to flavor this 18.5 months. So, okay, so let's move on to the next one. So now after Taurus, we have Gemini. So for Gemini, this is happening in your 12th house. And K2 is in your 6th house. So what's this going to be like, Santhip?
Well, the 6-12 axis is kind of a very karmic axis. 12th house is the house of spirituality in many ways. So usually you will find Gemini ascendant natives literally becoming more spiritual. You'll find that they are more willing to, the first thing they will have is that their sleeps will be disturbed. That's what they'll begin to see. One of those things you will see when Rahu and when the nodes are transiting 12th house. So it's kind of important to have a discipline around sleep. There's one thing I can recommend. Or to at least do some spiritual practices around your sleep or around sleep and so forth. Usually they might be having very active dreams, very powerful dreams also. In my opinion, they would also be...
Get a Fitbit to track your dream cycle. It's helped me so much. Now I know what I'm doing, how I'm sleeping wrong and how long I need to sleep. And it's made a huge difference. So
yeah, I cannot emphasize that enough, with Rahu and 12th house differently. Gemini natives are definitely keen on new technology, gadgets and all that. So, getting
and restless, so they don't sleep well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So that definitely helps them out, for sure. No doubt about that. Rahu in 12th house also dealing with this potential expenses also. So you kind of need to watch out for that. Usually expenses, you might feel like buying or indulging yourself in a lot of luxuries and so forth. So just make sure that you're not, closing your, the bank account. You're not depleting your bank account and stuff like that, or your savings just so that you can have that jewelry or that, gadget or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's one of those things just to be aware about. But it's a very good time period for spiritual retreat, meditation work. Very good time for any yoga retreats if you have been planning that. It's a very powerful time for doing occult practice system. Now, having said so, you are getting restless at sleep, but you can chant mantras and do meditation practice around sleep time. That's a very powerful thing for a Gemini ascendant native. Now, Ketu is transiting through the 6th house. So these natives might have to take care of unexpected challenges at work. Usually there is this conflicts, unexpected problems coming at work and so forth, potentially with colleagues and co-workers and so forth. So just be careful about that. Usually it's good. You might be dealing with enemies from your past lifetime. So you kind of need to like recognize that some of the challenges from the past is coming forth and just coming up to be cleared up. So you have to be present when those energies are coming forth and so forth. I would even say that with Ketu in the sixth house, you also need to be focusing on health. So usually what I've seen when Ketu is linked with the sixth house is that going the old ways usually help out. Like say you're doing I think some people go paleo if I'm not mistaken, with their food and all that. So that kind of thing might help out. Sometimes using what your ancestors would do frequently with regard to your health might be helping you out. For instance, say your grandparents spend a lot of time in the farm or something like that. Spending time around farm or something like that could be helpful. Something similar is something I can say. The other aspect to you I have to be careful of is to be open about changing your lifestyle in general. So it's almost like Ketu in the sixth house that some bad habits from the past would come forth. So you need to like literally work on that. So usually, especially with Ketu transiting to the sixth house of routines, and you might find your routines being disrupted in an unexpected fashion. So, and that's fine as long as you can get through this phase without going through frustrating. Now, Ketu in the sixth house is also requiring you to have a spiritual routine also. So that's the other thing I can definitely recommend. Having a routine where you are engaging in spirituality. Ketu is also linked with Ganesha and your ancestors. So honoring Ganesha and honoring your ancestors as is possible can be very helpful.
Yeah, and K2 is represents dogs, and sixth house is pets. And K2 can be loss, and so I would just warn, be careful of your pet's health at this time, especially if you have a dog. But also, a dog could be healing therapy for you. Especially if you've had PTSD or something like that. Animals just instinctively know when you need love, and so that's a great healing remedy during this time for Geminis as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Ketu is, you might be continuing with old pets, from past lifetimes. That's also one of the things I can say. Definitely having a dog will be very helpful. I cannot emphasize enough during Ketu in sixth house. Hunting with a dog, bringing a dog into your life, taking care of it, being responsible for it can actually help you out a lot in your own healing in many ways.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I can even recommend fishes also. Ketu can also be connected with fishes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Ketu is the Matsya avatar. So, having fishes in your life can also help you out.
I did not know that. Huh.
Yeah.
And it's opposite the 12th house, so that would be Pisces.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so if your ascendant or moon is Cancer, then this is happening. Rahu's in your 11th and Ketu's in your 5th. So what do you think about that?
Now, this is a very good time period for Cancer ascendant natives. There might be some big gains coming. Could be like big money, potentially. The promotion that you've been waiting, that could really be happening right now. At the same time, you might be making a lot initially, and then you kind of have to prepare for a long term also. Don't go on a spending spurge and so forth. Very important. Usually, I can say that 11th house can also symbolize your elder siblings. So your elder siblings or the closest friends to you might be going through a big shift themselves also. So they might also be absorbing that kind of karma through your chart. So just be aware about that. I can even say that with 11th house, though, it is still the house of gains, networks, a support group, a community. So that kind of activity might become stronger. You might perhaps become more involved with the community. You might actually be open to a new community. And that might be something new for you for a Cancer native also. And you are trying to work through that also. It's one of those things that can actually happen. So I would say that with Cancer natives, definitely Rahu transit to the 11th house is a very good time period, where they are finally expressing their creativity in very powerful ways also. It's also potentially possible that finally they're having that artistic urge in many ways, and having that artistic group around them could also help them out a lot. That's definitely something I can definitely say. Yeah, teaching for sure, definitely. Teaching for sure is very good. You'll find that very interesting thing is that because Ketu is transiting to the 5th house for Cancer natives, you can see that they might be connecting with children, and these children might have had a link with them in a past lifetime. So it could be that either usually there is a past life karma to be cleared. Could be that past life students are coming into their lifetime briefly. That could also happen. Fifth house is also literally linked with mantra chanting also, and past life memories also. So past life spiritual knowledge could also come to them in an unexpected fashion. So that's also actually expected. With regard to it, could happen in a sudden fashion, and it could become very powerful also. Definitely, with Rahu in the 11th house, though, it's kind of important also to, in my opinion, to be okay about doing some charity work for the community. In my opinion, that's also always helpful, because when you do some, when you do some charity, it's one of those things that helps you out a lot, especially with when you're dealing with the community kind of energy. Sometimes it can be a lot. Sometimes when you make a lot of money, you don't know what you want to do with it, then it actually helps you out to actually plan that thing out, to do some kind of charity. In fact, the concept of tithing, right? Giving away 10% of your income to some religious institution of your choice is always good also. It's one of those things I can always recommend. But yeah, definitely, I do think it's going to be a great time period for Cancer. They might get some recognition. They might get some promotion. A lot of gains is definitely going to come for Cancer ascendant native for sure. That's a good time period for Cancer ascendant natives.
I would also add, because fifth house is children and K2 is loss, that it could be if your kids are teenagers, they're going to college.
Yeah, definitely.
Kids are leaving the home. You're going to be an empty nester. That's a manifestation of K2 in the fifth house.
Yeah, definitely. That's very true. I think that's a challenge which modern day women definitely have to face. I think they have to most of the day they spend their whole lives rearing their child, and then suddenly when the child is off home, off to college and off to university, and then you kind of have to recognize, okay, I need to fill my own time with something, some kind of passion, some kind of creativity and so forth. So exploring creative hobbies is an important time, and it's kind of helpful this time period to connect with some very artistic groups or some creative support groups, or maybe find out the local meetup group where you can actually meet, to explore your hobbies or your passion or something like that. That's something I can definitely encourage for sure.
Okay. All right. So Leo. So if your ascendant or moon is in Leo, then this is happening. Rahu will be in your 10th and K2 will be in your 4th. So what do you think about that?
Well, Rahu being in the 10th is very good for profession. So you might be making some big gains on the professional side. So perhaps you are having a very real opportunity, a very good job offer, and so forth. Now, of course, you also have to remember Ketu is also in the 4th house. So perhaps there is this work-life balance that a Leo native might have to deal with. It's a very challenging kind of thing. So perhaps you might spend more time at work and find yourself not at home, and that could be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Rahu in the 10th could also mean you might be getting very good recognition also. It's a very good transit for Leo native. I do think there might also be potentially there might be some huge opportunities coming at work, perhaps some kind of international foreign travel kind of thing happening. In my opinion, it could also be it could also be activating some karma with a foreign land or foreign companies, for instance. That's also possible. I would even say with Rahu in the 10th is also a very powerful time again to do some very spiritual practices also. Rahu in the 10 on those 5, whenever Ketu or Rahu is transiting the 5, 9 and 11, 9 kind of thing. 5, 10, 11, 5, 9, 10, 11. These also, any nodal interaction is always good for spiritual practices. Along with one sun. I mean, that's literally off the chart, but still, I can say that with Rahu in the 10 is very powerful time where you might find your spiritual practices are giving you very quick results, especially with your work. You will find that things, your mantra you chant is actually helping you with headways at work and stuff like that. It's an important thing I can say. Now with Ketu in the 4th house, that can be some challenges on the home front. Perhaps your mother might go through a challenging thing. That's a natural thing at this point. There might be some unexpected problems that could come at home. There could be some real estate problems, usually like the plumbing in the home goes or something like that. You kind of have to deal with that. The home gets flooded, having to deal with that. That kind of thing is a natural thing there. I've also seen that with Ketu in the fourth house, there might be some challenges, unexpected challenges coming at on the home front. So it's kind of important that you actually be willing to be prepared. So usually it's one of those things. Usually Ketu in the fourth house, especially if you have any luminaries there, and there'll be two eclipses happening in Scorpio. That's something these natives have to be prepared for. Usually I've seen that either they are moving to their own home, there might be some challenges around that, or they might be willing to even change their homes also during this time period. And there's a whole stress factor associated with the moving the home and so forth. That's one thing that can usually happen. Usually with Ketu in the fourth house can also bring some, drama with the family front also. So this is one of those things just to be prepared for and just to understand that it's a past life karma that is being cleared up and approach that in a very grounded fashion.
Yeah, and I know somebody who has Leo Lagna and she sells real estate, and so for her, this is going to be great because she wants to get rid of that real estate. She wants to sell it, So it doesn't have to be bad. K2 in the fourth doesn't have to be bad, It could be, if you want to sell your house, this could be the time. I mean, usually when Saturn is transiting your fourth, you're moving. But K2 in the fourth is more like losing or letting go of real estate. And if you want to do that, then that's great, So if you've been wanting to sell that house, then this is probably going to happen now, Leo. So... yeah, and very good. Okay, so let's move on to Virgo. So if you are Virgo, Lagna, or Moon, then Rahu is going to be in your ninth, and Ketu is going to be in your third. So what do you think about that?
Well, Rahu in the ninth is usually very good for foreign travels. I think definitely a lot of Virgo Lagna natives might be traveling next year. There's a good chance for that. I do think they might be engaging in travel for sure. Usually there is a very spiritual kind of karma that is being activated right now. I do think a new kind of spirituality could be coming their way. They might be open to new ways of spirituality, new philosophy, a new guru, all those possibilities are there. Virgo Lagna could also be activating some potential karma with their father during this time period also. Usually a father figure, a father like karma, even teaching kind of karma, they themselves becoming gurus themselves could also be playing out also very strongly for Virgo Lagna. I would even say that there might be a potential even for doing some pilgrimages of sorts, but this could also include some kind of higher education. So perhaps you might be finally considering going back to school, and then that could actually manifest also very easily. That could actually play out. This could potentially be in a foreign land as well. I wouldn't be surprised if that also happens, if that be the case. So you might be away from your family. That kind of thing is also expected with Virgo Lagna. I would even say with Ketu being in the third house for Virgo, usually there is this challenges coming with the communication fronts. So you've been talking to someone and then the whole thing breaks down. Something erupts and then,
especially siblings.
Yeah, especially siblings. Yes, definitely. Especially siblings, especially friends, especially someone whom you consider as younger than yourself. Those kind of groups, when you talk with them, suddenly there is challenges on the communication front. Challenges could come forth. Definitely that's a thing. There might be some unexpected travels that could come on account of an opportunity to make some gains, or it could be like unexpected travel for a workshop or unexpected travel on account of siblings with friends and so forth also. I would even say that with Virgo Lagna, it's a different possibility for going through a big shift. Well, these are natives who will be studying astrology for sure. There's a good chance that they have been discovering astrology right now and so forth. There's a very good chance for that. I would definitely say that in many ways, they are kind of awakening their past life knowledge, their past life hobbies right now. They might pick up a skill that they used to do before. They might pick up a hobby that they used to do before and all that. That's definitely possible with Virgo Lagna,
Yeah, very good. Yeah, definitely, teaching, learning, going back to school. I've seen it happen where someone never thinks they're going to go back to school. And as soon as Rahu goes into the ninth house, they've applied,
Yeah.
and they're on their way. It's like they never thought of that before. Okay, let's move on to Libra. And so if you are Libra, Lagna, or Moon, then Rahu is going into your 8th house, and Ketu is going into your 2nd house. So what do you think about that for Libra?
Now, the 2nd and 8th house axis is slightly challenging. Usually, it is an important time period where you kind of recognize where you might actually have some karma with potential unexpected financial problems. There's an actual thing that can happen. You might have to potentially deal with that or learn to navigate that kind of way. That kind of thing is a very important thing. Rahu in the 8th house can also bring about some karma with inheritances also, either dealing with inheritance, managing your inheritance, ensuring a will is done, all that also. It's a very strong thing. I would even say that in the 8th house, it's a very powerful time to study occult knowledge. Perhaps you are digging up astrology right now, you're going through a spiritual transformation, you're going through a big process of transformation yourself, that you're open to new ways of thinking. And it might actually require you to change something. You might have to change, you might have to transform what you're going through. 8th house is really the house of transformation. It's very important in that regard. Also, 8th house is also the house of your in-laws. So, so just be careful around that time period. Usually you could say there might be this unexpected kind of drama happening over dinner or whatever, It's kind of one of those things you just need to be prepared for and just to navigate it in a patient manner. Because could be like unexpected problems with the in-laws is possible. This is 8th house also the house of joint assets. So expect some movement on the joint assets front. This could be the joint bank account, the joint property that you own, all that. There might be some unexpected opportunity coming, unexpected increase coming, all that is also possible. So Ketu in the 2nd house is usually, there is this financial kind of karma playing out in the 2nd house. It's almost like you're trying to make money, but there's this blockage which you're having to deal with. It's one of those things you feel perhaps the corona thing is actually affecting your business one way. Perhaps you're forced to change the way how you're running some business and so forth. I would even say that Ketu in the 2nd house can also mean this temporary karma with food. Like you might pick up your old food eating habits, and then that's not great either. So you kind of need to be
Food
conscious
allergies.
about that.
Yeah,
food
Ketu is
allergies.
poison, and 2nd house is the mouth. So if you have that in your birth chart, it can indicate food allergies. But if it's transiting through there, then you could suddenly become allergic to something you were never allergic to before.
Yeah, definitely watch out for the food. Usually Ketu is also the planet of subconscious energy. So there's something subconscious happening to you with food. So it could be that either you might like certain new flavors, certain old foods come with you from a past life. Suddenly you're liking Italian food out of nowhere or whatever. That kind of thing could be an actual thing. So it's one of those things with Ketu in the 2nd house that you might have some past life karma with food and money as well. As an actual thing. Usually, it's a very good time period to actually offer food to Ganesha. Ganesha being the planet of Ketu, indicated with Ketu. And you offer food like a fruit to Ganesha, it's a very easy remedy to do that. I can recommend that also. One thing with Ketu is also you might feel this need to make this appearances in a public fashion with Ketu in the 2nd house, and then you don't like it because it's happening in a sudden fashion. You are unprepared for it and so forth. That is also one more thing I could say. But yeah, with in general 2nd house, I could say it's also a house connected with your values and savings. So definitely there can be this karma coming from the past life with regard to your savings. So that's something to watch out for. Being conservative with your savings, or being prepared to at least let go of some of your savings. That's very important also. Usually I would always encourage feeding small birds like crows, for instance, feeding birds and animals, squirrels and stuff like that, some food. That's the best way to remove this kind of karma. Yeah, and dogs also, feeding dogs is good also.
Yeah. You love dogs. Okay, Scorpio. So if your Lagna or Moon is Scorpio, this means that Rahu is going into your 7th house and Ketu is going into your 1st house. So what do you think about that?
Just like Taurus ascendant natives, Scorpio ascendant natives are in for a big change. Big change. If they have been, they might not expect the change. They might knew it before. They might have intuited it before, but it wouldn't definitely befitting your expectations. That is definitely guaranteed. Definitely this year and next year, it's for a big change for them. There might be some challenges they themselves have to go through. They might have to transform and let go of changes themselves. It's one of those things. They might have to recognize things that are not working for them and things that needs to change in themselves. It's a very important thing. I can definitely say that a focus on health would increase. Definitely a focus on very important aspects of their life would also increase. It's usually there might be this karma with inheritances. Usually, it is one of those things I can say. Is one of those things, usually it can be challenging time period for Scorpio. It is true. It is a challenging time period, you could say. But then I think change is also necessary. You'll find that kind of a thing also happening. If things are not in order, then suddenly they are having to deal with they are forced to deal with unexpected problems, problem solving that are coming up and so forth with Scorpio ascendant. Now, usually what can also come forth is that past life spiritual knowledge can also come forth. Scorpio ascendant is very, very strongly because Ketu is in their first house. Now, yeah, the big thing having said so, Rahu is in the 7th house, right? So definitely that relationship front can have some movements. Now you can expect some unexpected developments happening on the relationship front. Now, doesn't mean that it's going to last, but at least what I would say is that at least you might see some change happening there. Could be some challenges coming, unexpected challenges coming. These are usually Rahu in the 7th house transits usually stressful time period for marriages in general. So usually it's one of those time periods you just have to go through it. And once that time period is over, things begin to fall into place. Usually things that need to happen on account of spouse usually comes forth. Rahu in the 7th house also making public appearances also. Perhaps you might be addressing a large group. Perhaps you might even be, attending very important meetings also, which can be changing your life in many ways. That's also an actual possibility there. I wouldn't be surprised with around the 7th house, with them developing, with Scorpio natives building up a new business, for instance. That's an
Yes, a new business. I have a friend, Scorpio rising, and he just got a job after looking for the longest time. So for him, this is great. It's like Rahu's in the 7th. He's got a great business atmosphere. And, Scorpio is the sign of big business, whereas Aries is the sign of small business. So Scorpios could find themselves towing the line for a big business, I mean, that's kind of Ketu, right? Is kind of being the follower. And so, but a lot of people have been out of work. And so, if you've just finally got a job, then it's great,
Yeah.
Big change.
Scorpio definitely. Big change for sure. Big transformation energy for Scorpio.
In a good way, though.
Sure. Yeah, it's always good. It's always good. But then when you're in the middle of it, you kind of like, it's you feel transformed. That's how it is, yeah.
Yeah, right. All right, so moving on, Sagittarius. If your Lagna or Moon is Sagittarius, then Rahu is going into your 6th house and Ketu is going into your 12th house. So what do you think about that?
So Rahu in the 6th house is increasing and focus on routines and health. That's something I can say. Perhaps suddenly you get a health coach. Perhaps you might get a personal trainer. That kind of thing. Perhaps you might even be working with a nutritionist. That's also a possibility. And you might even be willing to change your routines, and that might be a new experience for you. Perhaps a new health routine is coming away, a new diet is coming away, or that is a possibility. Around the 6th house can also make you competitive during this time period. Suddenly you find this need to compete with your colleagues at work, and you might be winning the competition also at the same time, because Rahu can make you a winner. That's an actual thing. Rahu is also a very good planet to make use of in terms of dealing with debt resolutions. Now you might be getting loans, but then at the same time the loans might be too huge, and then don't spend it all out. That's a very important thing. Rahu in the 6th house usually is good for loans, but there might be an actual karma with loans and debts that could be triggered also. It's very important to recognize that. Usually you might have to deal with loan. Perhaps you might get that mortgage you have been looking for to buy your property and so forth. That's an actual possibility.
Or you could be doing mortgages. That could be your work.
Yeah, definitely.
Could be serving at a bank or serving somehow like that.
Yeah. Definitely for sure. I would even say that definitely some kind of healing would be activated. Perhaps you might study healing, you might study the healing practices, you might be involved in healing service. That kind of variation is also possible.
Mm-hmm.
With Rahu in the sixth house, it's also a very powerful time period to improve your habits. I cannot emphasize that, like health habits, eating habits, water drinking habits. All those habits that are out there. It's a very good thing. Perhaps you might develop even a new hobby, in my opinion. You might actually develop a hobby of even gardening and flowers and all that stuff. That's also an actual possibility. Ketu in the 12th house can be slightly challenging because now you're having to let go of friends that are no longer connected with you. There's an actual possibility. Some distance could come forth between you and your siblings or in-laws even. Ketu in the 12th house can actually also be slightly challenging in terms of dealing with this occult knowledge also. Perhaps again your sleep is disturbed because some past thing is keeping you up and so forth. Usually, I can encourage doing this spiritual practice of writing down your memories and burning it up. It's a very simple practice that is very good for doing this emotional cleansing of sorts. Scorpio is a very emotional sign, though they don't show it. It's an intense emotional sign thing going on. So usually, I've seen that when you write your emotions up and then you burn it, then you're kind of intensifying that Scorpio fire, and you're kind of using that Scorpio fire or transformation to heal your emotions. So that's a very powerful thing. I can definitely recommend that and that's a generic remedy, but more so for Sagittarius ascendant. Usually with Ketu in the 12th house, they might also have to deal with some um, themes of isolation, some themes of separation. So perhaps your work is requiring you to travel, perhaps your spouse is having to travel. Some variations of that is also happening. Potentially that could also happen. Um, Ketu in the 12th house, though, is very good time period for retreats, just like Rahu in the 12th house. Very good time period for connecting with old friends, spending some time together, taking some time off. It's a very good time period for that. Having a vacation that you have been thinking about, this is the time for it. I cannot emphasize enough. Having that, spending that time alone is a very powerful thing right now for Ketu in the 12th house. Usually, it's a very powerful time period to introspect, to contemplate, and you can actually bring about lot of powerful other secrets within yourself could come forth with regard to, and you might be able to deal with that more also very strongly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pay attention to your dreams too. K2 in the 12th is,
Yeah.
K2 is Digbala in the 12th, right? So it's already happy there, and your dreams are going to be pretty wild. So keep a dream journal next to your bed, Sagittarius.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Some astral
Powerful dreams.
travel is probably going to be happening. So I'm just warning you.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Yes, for sure.
Okay, Capricorn. So if your Lagna or moon is in Capricorn, then Rahu is going into your 5th house and Ketu is going into your 11th house.
Yeah, Rahu in the 5th house can actually bring about real karma with children. Now, perhaps your children are going to school. Perhaps your children are actually, requiring more attention from you. Perhaps you are actually required to change the way you have been handling with your children. Now, children can be many things. Children can actually be your pet projects also. Children can be your creative projects, your artistic hobbies and so forth, which you have been trying to create. This could also be a new product, a new business that you're trying to launch. Perhaps you are also trying to find, a new way of exploring what you say your creative aspirations. This could be like you are exploring new kinds of creativity, new ways of art. Perhaps you might be looking at music, for instance. You might feel that a lot of people are going to be studying music. I wouldn't be surprised even if you, for Capricorn ascendant natives, if they really have children also at the same time. I've seen that also. Like they no children so far, good chance that there might be a child coming away. And having to deal with those responsibilities and so forth around child and that kind of thing can be a new experience for Capricorn ascendant natives also. So it can be an important time period. In many ways, it can be a powerful time period also. Ketu in the 11th house might make you feel like that you're not getting those gains that you have been desiring for. So perhaps there is this blockage coming with regard to your promotion at work. Perhaps there is blockage regarding the financial gains that you're looking for. There might be some potential karma with inheritance that can come forth. So it could be that some inheritance money is coming your way and so forth. That can also be a very strong thing. I would even say that with Ketu in the 11th house, there might be some past life karma with elder siblings that could come forth also. So it's not, and your elder sibling could be going through a transforming time period and his or her marriage, because of Ketu, Rahu in that particular axis.
What if you're
That's
the
one thing.
elder sibling? What if you're the eldest?
Well, then you'll have to look at your younger sibling and so forth. So it's a different kind of thing. If you're
Maybe
the
the
elder
pressure's
sibling,
on you.
yeah, well, that it's possible. Perhaps if you have the elder sibling karma, then you might be observing that from the chart also. That's also true. The elder sibling in you could also become stronger, and that kind of karma could become stronger also. It is one of those things there for sure. Definitely, Ketu in 11th house is it's very interesting time because you might connect with groups that you interacted with in your past lifetime. So perhaps one of those old groups, old alumni network, all those kind of things can actually come forth. I could even say that old friends could come forth unexpectedly, and that might be quite a surprise, in many ways.
Right.
I would even say that Ketu in 11th house, though, it's a very powerful time to connect with occult groups. Like many astrology groups will be formed, many astrology friendships will be formed, all that kind of thing. I can definitely say with the occult group for sure. There might be a new occult network coming your way, definitely.
And also, you could be letting go of a lot of old friends that you no longer connect with anymore.
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely happening for sure. I do think you might deal with this past life karma on account of friendship and on account of um, on account of gains also. Different networks and circle. Your network circle, right? So your network circle might go through a big shift and so forth. Definitely.
But in a good way, because K2 is the most spiritual planet. So you're attracting spiritual friends. So the people that aren't spiritual, Capricorn, they're just going to kind of fall to the wayside,
Yeah, definitely. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, Aquarius. So if your Lagna or moon is in Aquarius, then Rahu is going into your 4th house and K2 is going into your 10th house. What do you think about that?
Rahu in the 4th house is definitely a quite challenging time for Aquarius on the family front. There might be some unexpected challenges coming on the family front. Perhaps you might be having some challenge with your mother. That's something you might have to watch out for. Mother figures in your life might go through some challenges for sure. Rahu in the 4th house can be that. Now you might find yourself outside of it, emotional comfort zone. So that is an actual thing an Aquarius native might have to go through. And they might have to be willing to go through that and learn through that process also. You might find guidance, you might feel supported, but still it will be like a new step that you might have to take up. This could also mean changing your homes, changing your residence. You have been staying in the same city for a long time, you're moving to a new city. This can also mean that you're moving to a new home also within the same city. All that is also possible. Sometimes it can definitely mean moving to a bigger house for sure. That is a possibility for sure. I can even say Rahu in the 4th house can actually expand your emotional comfort zone also at the same time. If you are a mother, you might become motherly. Your mother is definitely demanding attention or attracting attention also. This is one of those things. Now, Ketu in the 10th house is actually eclipses will be happening in the 10th house for an Aquarius as a native. So usually these natives will be going through powerful transformations in their career. Now, Ketu in the 10th house is like usually they're detached about their career. They would rather like spend time researching rather than be outside on their career and so forth, making themselves famous or something. But then eclipses kind of changing the whole dynamic there, and they find themselves in the middle of like a lot of groups and so forth. That kind of thing can become really strong. There might be this actual unexpected problems and problem solving that can happen, which can come forth for an Aquarius native, and they might go through a big shift in their career also in many ways. So perhaps they might be taking up new jobs, changing their jobs, all that kind of variation is possible. I would definitely advise not to make any big decisions in between the eclipses. Keep that lunar eclipse to solar eclipse time. Try to keep it as decision free as possible because that's the time period when the shadow energies come forth. And then you literally, will be embroiled in a shadow and you don't want that. So it's one of those things you want the eclipse energies to calm down before you can act on the decision. Those circumstances can put you a tight situation where you're actually having to deal with it and so forth. It's one of those things. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I would say for Aquarius natives. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, changing your job. You're changing your job basically, and probably moving. But it's all good. It's all good, Aquarius, because so much has changed this year. So many people have, lost their businesses or lost their job. And so, you might have to move to get a new job, but that's okay. It's all karmic and it's good. So just go with the flow. You're very good at that. So, okay, for Pisces, if your Lagna or moon is in Pisces, that means Rahu's going into your third house and Ketu's going into your ninth. What do you think about that for Pisces?
Rahu going to the third house is very powerful time period for Pisces natives to explore their own hobbies. Also potential for a change in job is actually present, or a side job, a side income, or a passive income can actually come forth for a Pisces native. I would definitely say some kind of investment opportunities could come. Maybe they're having to take the first step with regard to the investment. Perhaps they are exploring stocks or something. Perhaps they are even exploring, cryptocurrency.
Right, because Taurus is money, and third house is media and stocks and things like that.
Yeah. So definitely Pisces natives might find it very active time. They are having to connect with friends. They're talking with friends. A lot of karma on that front is happening. I would even say that Pisces is also, very. You could say that they are definitely having this karma of karma with communication in general. So either they're having some communication problems, or they're learning a new communication. They're studying a new language, for instance. That can be a thing. Now, their younger siblings might be going through a challenging time period. Go ahead, Katya.
I would say law, contracts, things like that.
Applying
for patents and, that kind of paperwork, right?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of paperwork, a lot of communication thing, a lot of back and forth exchanges. Definitely. Rahu in third house, they're forced to communicate. They're forced to check that out, things like that. Definitely no doubt about that. Ketu in ninth house is actually connecting them with past life teachers, gurus, lawyers, counselors, advisors, and so forth. It could be that they might be keen on studying. They might suddenly find an interest in a book or something, and suddenly they find themselves reading some knowledge about something that they knew in their past lives. That's an actual thing. I do think Ketu, and it might come in an intuitive fashion. It might come in an unexpected fashion. Pisces natives might be studying astrology. There's an actual thing that can happen. They might be studying the occult sciences. They might be studying mantra shastra. All that kind of thing can become very strong. I would even say that with Pisces as a native, Ketu in the ninth house is a challenging time period for the father also. Just like Virgo as a native. So they might have to watch out for that and so forth, So it's one of those things. So it's one of those things I can say. For Pisces natives, kind of, they'll go through a big shift in their spiritual practices, spiritual gurus and so forth. Spiritual philosophies also, they'll go through a big shift. It's an actual thing for a Pisces native, But yeah, definitely things are going to happen for them very strongly.
Yeah, I'd say also they could also be doing long distance traveling. And something that has to do with their gurus or learning occult knowledge, just, traveling for spiritual reasons, for learning spiritual things. And, spiritual things don't just have to be, your religion. It could be some philosophy that has to do with, the field of work that you're in. You could be learning, philosophy, something that's idea oriented, doesn't just have to be religion. But yeah, a lot of emphasis upon that. And also, our third house is our willpower and our courage. And so when when Rahu is there, it just, it's like we feel more confident in ourselves, even though, he's a first-rate malefic and he's a shadow point, he's very powerful. And so it's like our courage and our will feels very powerful at that time. And so I think that's going to be good for Pisces because they're already by nature kind of demure They don't speak up a lot, you know. So
Yeah,
I think this is going to
definitely.
give them a lot of a big confidence boost,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely. The courage to communicate your own needs, the courage to communicate what you really want in life. It's a very important lesson. I think a Pisces native will be learning those lessons over this next 1.5 years, and they'll be required for them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, standing up for what you believe in, and you may have to get a lawyer for it. So.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, definitely. In some cases, yes, for sure.
Okay, and the last one, Aries. So if your Lagna or moon is in Aries, then that means that Rahu is going into your second house and Ketu is going into your eighth house. So what do you think about that?
Well, Rahu in second house usually might make an Aries ascendant to open about new ways of making money. That's something you can say. Definitely, the diet change can happen. They might suddenly become diet conscious. All that kind of thing can happen. New ways of making money could also include some kind of occult knowledge because Rahu could be second. Now, Aries ascendant to whenever Rahu is transiting the money house, right? Second house, 11th house, 10th house, for instance, or 159 houses. If you chant mantras, you get very powerful results. It's a simple thing I can say as a side note. But in general, Rahu in second house, you chant mantras, you are going to get money. Straightforward as that. And I can say that for sure for Aries native. In fact, what will be good also for Aries native right now, Rahu in second house, there's an actual karma family. There's an actual karma even with financial well-being, like building up your savings, for instance, building up that investment, for instance. That can be an actual thing. Rahu in second house could also make you show your face in public meetings in many ways. So your Rahu, your face is becoming a public kind of thing. That's an actual thing they might have to deal with. The other side of Rahu being in second house is that of could say assets, fixed assets. So they might have to be working on that. That kind of asset kind of karma can become very strong. Second house, remember, is still you can think about second house as the career of your children also. That's the 10th from your 5th. So usually you'd say that your children might go through a big shift themselves. They might increase their social life and they are having to deal with all that. That kind of thing could be something an Aries ascendant might actually have to connect with. At the same time, Ketu being in the 8th house, they might definitely have some unexpected problems, especially if you have planet in 8th house. I can definitely say that with 8th house kind of karma can also be connected with inheritances, joint assets. 8th house is also linked with occult knowledge, so their past life occult knowledge is coming forth very strongly. It's also a very powerful time period for spiritual practices for sure. But then usually they are having to deal with problems that are coming in an unexpected fashion. For Aries native, in general, are the fixers of the zodiac. They are just searching for problems anyways, So it's one of those things. So like usually you'll find with Mars ruled ascendants, right? Scorpio and Aries, they are the fixers. They need a problem to solve. Usually you'll find them doing a lot of things happening on that front. But Ketu in the 8th house door is actually having to face some transformation karma on account of past lives, energies, and so forth. So it's a very important time period for them. They might go through a big transformation themselves, big way in the way they thought who they were, and all that kind of thing. That can be a very powerful transformative time for Aries also. There might be some unexpected challenges in the family with Ketu being in the 8th house. So 8th house also transformation, death, inheritance, all that. So there might be some karma on that front. There might be some insurance karma also. Possibility that if either you're having to deal with insurance, unexpected problems on the insurance front, all that is also potentially possible. That's something just to be aware about also.
Yeah,
Aries natives.
making money, but spending money. That's what I see.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, definitely, very true.
Yeah, Ketu and
Yeah,
Scorpio. Yeah, in the eighth. That's pretty intense. Be careful of drugs,
addiction
whether
issues.
they
Yes,
be
definitely.
illicit or pharmaceutical. You
Mm-hmm.
know, just like you're ultra sensitive to drugs, you may find out that you have a drug allergy at this time that you never knew about. You know.
Yeah, that's very much possible. Definitely. Ketu in 8th house is addiction issues for sure. Ketu in 8th house also like this secrets that you're keeping and karma around secrets also. One of those things, perhaps you might have to be careful around secrets that you're dealing with and so forth. Usually it's an actual thing. They might have to deal with some hidden nature and so forth. I mean, usually what happens is that you would meet some partners of your from a past lifetime. Some partners, secretive partners you had from your past lifetime could come forth right now. And then you're having to, you don't know what's going on there. And Ketu's in the 8th house. And you're like, and you might have a secretive kind of thing going on. And that's the best thing. Recognize that it's the past lifetime and so forth is one of those things they have to learn to deal with it also. You know?
Yeah, in other
It's one
words,
of those
two
things
words, sex scandals.
yes, sex scandals. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Watch out for sex scandals in the family and all that, right? Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, definitely they need to watch out for that, not to get into that, not to get embroiled into that, especially if it's happening all into a very sudden manner. I've seen it can be too much to handle at the same time.
Right. But you know,
Yeah.
eighth house, I mean, the light side of the eighth house is that it's transformation. So, you know, transformation, I find a lot of beauty stylists have heavy eighth houses because what's a makeover? It's a transformation. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, makes
that's the
sense.
light side, you know, is that you could be losing your old look and you could be, you know, kind of getting a makeover in a way, you know, getting reinventing yourself in a way.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely that's a big transformation, big reinvention of yourself. It will be Aries ascendant native are getting a peek of what is coming up ahead for them. But
Mhm.
definitely a big transformation is coming. Remember, Rahu will be transiting over Aries after Taurus, right? So they're going to go through a big transformation in many ways. So it's kind of a beginning process of transformation for them right now in many ways.
That's right. Yeah, that's the next one. Rahu goes into Aries in 18 and a half months, you guys. But
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
like we kind of get a little bit of a, not a break. Well, yeah, kind of a break, you know, this 18 and a half months. It's been so intense. Just, I mean, you know, Shani goes direct in 2 days. And so this whole 6 months that we've been in quarantine is when he went retrograde,
Yeah.
you know? And so now he's going direct and Rahu's in Taurus and Ketu's in Scorpio. And so things are going to kind of lighten up a little bit. But yeah, it's next year's going to be great, especially January and February of next year. We have several planets in Capricorn in January, like 6 or something crazy like that. And then in February, they all go into Aquarius. And we've got like 5 or 6 planets in Aquarius then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can we get a break? It's a little tiny
Yeah.
break.
Yeah, it can be challenging. Yeah.
I think
That's true.
after February, things are gonna lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. After the eclipses, definitely things do have the potential to lighten up for sure. Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys, thanks for watching this. And as always, if you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel and make sure and hit the bell. And that way you'll get email notifications when I post things. And thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Santhip, so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Katya. Thank you
You're
to your
welcome. I
viewers also. Yeah.
appreciate it. Yes. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.